Today, we're talking about something you probably use every single day, your cooking pans. And we're going to figure out how choosing the right cookware might just help you avoid a surprisingly common illness known as Teflon flu.
So let's just jump right in with a pretty direct question. Is it possible that your favorite go-to non-stick frying pan is actually making you sick? I know, it's a wild thought, but it's one we're going to unpack right now.
All right, so first things first, what in the world is Teflon flu? It might sound like something made up, but I promise you, it's a real medical condition with a proper scientific name. So, Teflon flu is just a nickname for something called polymer fume fever. It's a real illness you can get from breathing in fumes that are released from overheated cookware. And the culprit? It's a chemical coating called PTFE. That's the key ingredient in most of those traditional nonstick surfaces we all know. So what does overheated actually mean? Well, the number you really need to remember is 500 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 260 Celsius. Once a nonstick pan hits that temperature, that PTFE coating starts to break down and release those invisible toxic fumes. And just to give you some perspective, an empty pan on high heat can hit that temperature in just a couple of minutes. Yeah, it's that fast. So here's how it all goes down. It's a simple and kind of scary chain reaction. First, the pan gets too hot. Maybe you walk away for a minute. Second, that PTFE coating starts to degrade. And then, and this is the tricky part, invisible toxic fumes are released right there into your kitchen air with no smoke or warning at all. And the reason they call it the flu is, well, because the symptoms are pretty much identical. We're talking chills, a sudden fever, a pounding headache, body aches, and even a tightness in your chest. It usually hits you a few hours after you've cooked. And the good news, if there is any, is that it typically goes away on its own within a day or two. Now here's something that is really, really important, especially if you have pets. For us, it might feel like the flu, but for pet birds, these same fumes can actually be fatal. Their respiratory systems are just incredibly sensitive, and they can be affected by fumes at levels that a human might not even notice. So this is an absolutely critical warning for any bird owners out there. Okay, so that's the problem. But don't worry, there's good news here. There are solutions. Let's start with what you can do right now, the immediate fix, how to use the nonstick pans you already have, but way more safely. The name of the game here is prevention. So, rule number 1, never ever preheat a nonstick pan when it's empty. Always have a little oil, butter, or food in there first. Number 2, just stick to low or medium heat. These pans really aren't built for searing a steak. Third, get some air moving. Open a window, turn on that exhaust fan. And finally, and this is a big one, if you see your pan is scratched or peeling, it's time to toss it. That damaged surface can release fumes much more easily. Now, those tips are great for reducing the risk. But what if you wanted to just get rid of the risk altogether? Well, that brings us to the deeper solution, making the switch to cookware that is truly, fundamentally non-toxic. And it really boils down to something super simple. To 100% guarantee you won't get polymer fume fever, you just need to use cookware that doesn't have any PTFE to begin with. If the chemical isn't there, it can't break down and release those fumes. Simple as that. Okay, this is a big one, because this is where marketing can get really confusing. You've probably seen PFOA-free slapped on a lot of pans. PFOA was a chemical used to make Teflon, but it's not Teflon itself. So a pan can be PFOA-free and still have that PTFE coating, the thing that actually causes Teflon flu. The label you really want to be looking for is PTFE-free. And this image really shows you the choice we're facing, right? On one side, you've got modern cookware, which is all about convenience. And on the other, you have these traditional options, like this earthen pot, which people have been using for centuries because they're naturally free of all these synthetic coatings. So how do we build that healthier kitchen? Let's dive in and explore some of these proven, safe alternatives. We're talking about materials that, just because of what they are, physically cannot cause Teflon flu because there are no plastic coatings involved. First up, let's talk about earthenware, or clay pots. This is literally one of the oldest cooking technologies on the planet, and it's making a huge comeback for a very good reason. It's simple, it's effective, and it's totally free of synthetic chemicals. Now, research from the Journal of Applied and Natural Science tells us earthenware has some awesome advantages. It's usually inexpensive, it's great at holding on to nutrients in your food, and a lot of cooks will tell you it just makes food taste and smell better. The downsides is it can break and it's a bit heavy. One key health note though, you have to make sure any glazing on the inside is certified free of lead and cadmium. Next up, a classic, iron cookware.
The biggest pluses are its incredible ability to hold heat and the fact that it can actually add a little bit of dietary iron to your food, which is great for a lot of people. On the other hand, yeah, you do have to maintain it to prevent rust, and sometimes it can react with acidic foods. And while a little iron is good, you don't want to overdo it.
And then there's stainless steel, which you probably have in your kitchen right now. It's super popular because it's durable, it's pretty lightweight, and it's very stable. Now, while it's much less likely to leach than other metals, it's not totally perfect. Tiny amounts of chromium and nickel can get into your food, especially when the pan is new or if you're cooking something really acidic. And hey, the list doesn't even stop there. You've also got cast iron and carbon steel, which are amazing because they become naturally non-stick when you season them correctly. And of course, you've got materials that are completely inert, like glass and stoneware, which are perfect for anything you're doing in the oven.
All right, so we've gone through a ton of information. The problem, the quick fixes, and the long-term solutions. Let's boil it all down to the single most important takeaway for your kitchen. So if you remember just one thing from all this, let it be this. To completely, truly get rid of the risk of Teflon flu, you either need to look for pans that are clearly labeled PTFE-free or just make the switch to those time-tested materials, like stainless steel or cast iron.
And look, this isn't just some new health fad. This idea is backed by solid research. A review in the Journal of Applied and Natural Science actually concludes that going back to traditional materials, like clay pots and iron pans, can be a huge help in fighting some of the health problems linked to our modern habits.
And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. When you look at the pans in your own kitchen, what's really driving your choice? Is it the quick convenience of a modern non-stick pan, or is it the peace of mind you get from using healthier materials? Ultimately, that choice is yours.